Good afternoon, everybody. It is Thursday, and it is National Pumpkin Day and National Chicken Fried Steak Day. So, either make some pumpkin pie, go buy a steak, and I guess do some kind of chicken cutlet with it. I don't know what chicken fried steak is. I really don't. But enjoy the day. It's beautiful. The weather's good. We're going to have good weather for 4 days, and then we're going to have rain on, of course, by Sunday, Monday, Tuesday. I have great guests here today, and I'd like you to introduce yourself.
My name is Hilari Cohen, and I am an author. I've written 11 novels. My newest one just came out this week. It's called Woodcarver's Secret. It's historical fiction, and I'm just loving what I do.
And so many books. Yeah. I'm so impressed. We're going to talk about all of them. But thank you for coming. We're going to talk to you. And we have my former guest with us back today. Understanding now you're on your second book because you're part of a second group of people.
Right. Well, actually, this was my first.
Oh, that was your first. Okay.
Yes, and that kind of motivated me to create my own book. So, this is a compilation of stories, and the name of the book is Unmasked 2, and all the people that are in the book are survivors of some sort of tragedy that they pulled through.
Right.
And then my book is called Voices Never Heard, and I was a victim of extreme bullying. So I needed to get rid of it. Because I carried it for many, many years. And so in 2019, I decided that no one would want to hear what I had to say. So that's why the name of the book is Voices Never Heard, because of the content in the book. And so I was motivated to write it, but more or less to just dump it. And as I wrote it, this book, chapter by chapter, I would cry. Because it would bring me back.
It was good for you. It got you to talk it out.
Right. Yes, and that's what I think people should do sometimes for therapy.
It is. Writing is therapy.
So we have Mary Buttafuoco Aguilar here today.
There you go.
So it's very nice to have you back.
Thank you.
And we're going to start talking to both of you. But first, I'd like to start with you. What I learned about you is that you have written books about love. Correct?
Yeah, I've written a lot of.
So let me just see some of the romance novels, guys.
But I've moved into historical fiction since.
But it says you're a winner.
Yeah.
The Book Life Prize for Fiction. The Lyric of Memory.
That was my first book.
That was your first book. Wow. Yeah. So what's it all about?
That particular book is about two people who meet very young, marry, have a child, and then can't live with each other. And it's the story of their life and what brings them back together.
In the end, well, they get back together.
Well, it's a romance novel after all.
Right. Dr. Jennings, though. I like that name. Who's Dr. Jennings?
Character in that book. But it's a story really that came about when I went with my husband to see Carole King and James Taylor in concert.
Oh.
And the idea came to me that what would have happened had they been a couple and a powerhouse music sensation. And that's what this book.
So I like one line already. Tom stood up and gave her a mock bow and said, "Your wish is my command, my lady." That's very nice. So you really write lovely, lovely
thank you.
Statements here. I can't wait to take a look at it.
It's a fun book. And
so this is #1 book.
That's the first book.
And she's got a pile of books here, guys. Wow.
I just brought you some just to see them.
Yeah, I love to look at covers.
This was a book about female friendship. My friend and I took a road trip across the country, and I based that book on that road trip.
Adjusting the Rear View. So how long did it take you? Where did you go?
Well, we started in New York, and we went to California. And that story is about one woman running away from something and the other running to something.
Really?
Nice.
That's very interesting.
It is an interesting
Did you
book.
write every time you stopped somewhere? Or no, you just remembered everything?
No, I took very good notes.
Yeah.
And great pictures, so I had memories of it.
I like the cover on this one, too. I'm going to have to take some pictures of it.
Fun cover.
Very, very nice.
Yeah, and then these are just a book and its companion. When my sons are very competitive with one another, they got married 90 days apart.
Your sons?
On 2 different continents. So the year that they were planning their weddings, I wrote about marriage.
Really? So one for each son, basically?
Sort of, kind of. Yeah.
Wow. A perfectly polite, fabulously flirty.
Right.
So
They're just fun.
it's something that you wanted to
romance
do in
novels.
memory for them?
Just because we were planning and there was so much wedding activity, and I felt like that's all I was doing was either spending or wiring money.
Oh, yeah, for weddings.
For
That's
weddings.
very true.
So I just felt I had to write it down. And that's what I did.
This is interesting to actually give to a couple.
Well,
Good
kind of fun.
wedding gift, guys. Good wedding gift. Fabulously flirty and perfectly polite. It's a great bridal shower gift.
Yeah, it is. Those are great bridal shower gifts.
And not only that, you could put it in a nice basket with some white tulle, and it's a great gift.
Yeah.
That I really like this idea. These I really would like to read.
They're fun books. And then this is a much more serious book. This is very timely right now. This was my first historical novel, The Wick and The Flame.
Ah,
And it's a book about the Israeli War for Independence.
whoa! Let's see that.
And
Wow.
it's about the people who got together to figure out that they could buy the weapons, but they could not buy the ammunition, and they had to make it themselves. And
Really?
that's the true story of how they won the war.
Wow.
So
Wow.
I took some fictionalized people and I put them there and told the story. And
That's
that book,
unbelievable.
That's appropriate
I have
right
been-
now. You
yeah.
know, very.
Well, it's very appropriate
very
for now.
appropriate for now.
It's a shame what's going on.
Yeah, it is. It's a big problem.
But that would be.
How did you get so good at this? I mean, one book after the other,
I think I've always been a reader. I love
which is
to
very
read.
important. Not everybody reads.
And I'm always curious about learning new things. So on one of the trips I made to Israel, I went to the bullet factory and it sparked my imagination. Because you can really feel the people. They were young Holocaust survivors who were down there making these bullets, and really get a sense
Wow.
of who
And
they were.
now, don't you think there's going to be some books coming out about what's going on
I'm
now?
sure there will be. I'm sure there will be.
Yeah, I would think so.
Yeah.
Definitely. Wow. So you have a family, kids, you have two sons.
I have two sons, one grandson, another grandson on the way
You live in Suffolk County,
in Suffolk County.
and you lived in Nassau County.
I did.
So what do you like better?
Oh my goodness, don't ask me that.
I think I know.
I like them both. I like them both.
Yeah, I think
But-
I know. Suffolk County is different. It's more homey. It's more
room.
kind of cultural things to do.
Yeah, and closer to the East End. So
Yes, that's true, which I'm sure you go out there in the summer.
Beautiful.
Yeah, everybody does.
Yeah.
It's just what they do, that's for sure. So what do you like to do other than writing? Obviously, you love to write.
yeah, I spend a lot of time writing. I do. Every day I'm committed to writing 4 pages minimum.
That's a lot in a day.
It's it.
And does your family, like your husband, get annoyed? Because
No, he's my biggest cheerleader.
really,
Yeah.
that's great. Because some
Yes.
men would be like, enough with the writing, enough, come and sit with me or whatever.
Yeah, I write when he's out, he's working, but I also am a morning person, so I get up. It's what I do in the morning, I write. And then I have my afternoon for myself, but now it's mostly social media.
Yeah, well, now social media, you need 24 hours a day.
It's really
It's very
a lot.
hard. And, most people hire people to help them with that because
And I did.
if you don't, you drive yourself a little crazy.
It's a lot of work, and it's hard to keep on top of what's happening. And now, I don't know if you're aware, but Book Talk on TikTok is the biggest way to sell books.
Book talk.
Book Talk. So you have to make all these TikToks about your book.
Oh, right. I did, yes.
And I'm not, 15 years old. So.
No, I don't do a lot of that either. I have some
hard.
kids that help me.
Yeah.
But again, there's only so many hours in a day.
Right.
So what's next? You working on something right
Well,
now?
I have a book that just came out, The Woodcarver's Secret, and that's about a young woman at the turn of the 20th century in the Lower East Side of Manhattan who wants to be a woodcarver and make carousel horses, but because she's a woman, she's not allowed to. And when I was writing that book, I was struck by how far we think we've come and how far we really
You're
have
not, right.
as women in this country. So that was a journey.
Yeah, did it bother you?
Oh, tremendously.
Yeah.
It really did. When I was writing that book, Roe was overturned, and that really bothered me. So I really stuck with the feminist theme in that book, and I'm hoping it finds its audience.
Oh, it will.
Yeah.
It's anything to do with women like that will find its audience.
She's a badass. She is.
Unbelievable. This is very interesting, really. So do you have a hobby other than the writing? Because
No.
most... You don't?
I
Come
really
on.
don't.
You got to have a hobby.
I don't.
You don't need to de-stress from all the writing? And
You know, I guess I binge a little too much. You know, Bridgerton and...
binge what?
Bridgerton, The Gilded Age, those shows that I love. But
Oh, you like to watch things, yeah.
but other than that, not really.
Really?
No more hobbies. No, this is what I do.
That's great. Well, how did your daughter-in-laws take
They're delightful. And
with
both of them
these books?
got a big kick out of it.
They did.
Yeah.
Well, that means a lot. When
It does.
people around you support you, like what you're doing, talk about it.
Right.
Now, your children, the boys are not living here, or are they far
No,
away?
they don't live on the island anymore.
Yeah, most
They
boys go.
They go.
They
One's
go.
in L.A., the other's up in Westchester.
Oh, well, Westchester's not that far.
Just one bridge.
And you say you have a grandchild?
One.
How old?
He's 8 months old.
Oh,
adorable.
you got a baby. That's nice.
About to have one more in January. We're
Nice. Well,
excited.
that's perfect life there. You love what you do. Your husband likes what you do. You got a baby
It's
on
all
the
good.
way and a baby in hand. That's great.
Yep.
Very nice. So how do people find out about you? You know, what's your website? Where do they go? What's your
Right.
Instagram?
Well, I'm all over.
I know
the
they
place.
have everything up here for you. But
Oh, thank you. I'm on Amazon, and certainly find me on Instagram, Facebook, X,
Where
which used to
everybody is,
be
yeah.
Twitter, and TikTok. So I'm around, and I do book clubs. I
Do you?
am happy to zoom into people's book clubs, or if they're local, I go and we talk about books, and
Right.
it's terrific.
Are you part of a big book group organization?
Well, not really a big organization. I have my own personal book club. Love those ladies. And I just, I've done a lot of Hadassah or
Right.
different organizations invite me and I go.
So yeah, you just get it by word of mouth, right? When they invite you in to come and talk.
Right. I also, I do my own, I have a newsletter that goes out every week and people can reach me through that.
It keeps you busy.
It keeps me really busy.
That's great. Now, before this, you had a corporate position in a publishing
I
company.
was an editor for more than one different publisher in New York, and I did that for years. I had kids. I became very involved with them and ended up being school board president for 10 years.
Oh my goodness!
Yeah. And then
So you were very well known before,
I decided I was going to do something for me, and this is what I did.
and that's what a book does. Really, it changes. I changed my life.
I bet it did.
Yes, it really did for the better. And not only one thing my publisher taught me, because I do self-publishing as well, is how eventually, maybe you don't make the money on the book at the beginning, but eventually you make the money on what you've learned in speaking and other types of things you could do as a result of the book.
Right.
And the events and mini things and all that.
Yeah.
So I was taught that by my publisher because I didn't realize. And she kept saying, don't worry about it, don't worry about it. When you got your first book home, first time you wrote the first book, what'd you do?
Oh my God. I think we went out to dinner. I'm trying to remember. It's a long time ago. I just felt really good about it. I felt good that I did what I set out to do because I didn't know if I could. I really did not know if I could finish that book, that first book. Because when you start with page 1 and it's a long road to the end, you're like, oh, I don't know about this.
Well, my first book was very small, actually. That one for you. This is my baby, my novella.
That's great.
Okay. And until I met Stephanie Larkin from Red Penguin Books, this is my second book. So I learned more from her after doing this alone and printing it 1,000 times, spending triple the money. And she taught me so much because she used to do classes on how to write a book, how to do this, how to do that, and I would follow her. And now for one of her classes, I do the first part, which is, do you want to write a book? Why do you want to write a book? How will it change you? I could actually talk about that without a script because it happened to me.
Right.
So she taught me a lot, and then she does section 2 and section 3 with getting published and all that. But in her classes, everybody writes during the class, and they read it, and she's a very, very smart lady.
It's great.
And we met in the bakery. And that's what the Breakfast Club show's about. High networking live, not 1,000 people in the room, because when you meet 1,000 people in a room, you get nowhere. Less is more. Right. But in the beginning, I used to go to these big things too, but no more.
That's what I like about the book clubs. You really get to know the people you're talking to, because they'll ask you questions that are very specific to what you've written. They've all read the book, and then you can really form
relationships.
a relationship. Yep.
So the women that are in my book, I have 70. They all wrote a book.
Wow.
And Stephanie, my publisher, works with them.
That's great.
So I work with her too now on getting people interested in writing a book. And we meet twice a month at her house. But she was originally in a studio like I am, and she renovated her whole basement. And she now is a studio in her house. So talk about something in your pocket, you know.
That's great.
And it came out beautiful. So I watched somebody like her grow. She's right down the block, and we met in the bakery. You know, and it's really interesting how networking, as much as people say it's not good, it is good. It's just meeting that right one person or, you know, somebody that can just show you a different way. So, but we're going to talk to you again, but I like your whole story and the fact that you love your family. Now, you said you had the empty nest for a while. Everybody's got that.
Yes.
And the book writing is what really
saved me from myself.
Well, I had an empty nest too when my daughter left, and it was terrible.
It's tough to get used to.
It was. After the wedding, you go down because all the rah-rah is over.
Right.
And then you're like, okay, well, what am I going to do? I'm going to look at pictures for the rest of my life, of wedding pictures, videos, and it does, you do go down a little from it, because I know what happened to me.
Yeah.
But once you find it, and then volunteering, which I do a lot of, I get scolded for it a lot, but that's what got me everywhere I went, the volunteering. So I teach that. I'm actually doing a class on it November 7th in Floral Park Library. Yeah. And yeah. And not many people, when people get laid off, they don't think, they're like, I'm out of work. You have an open book now to do whatever you want to do once.
And a skill to teach others.
Yes. And I always tell someone, do something you've never done before while you're unemployed. And volunteer, because nobody gets mad at you. If you give your service away free, you're going to do good. And you're going to be hanging around with people that are so nice, because they're all there because they want to, not because they have to attend a training.
Right.
So that's my philosophy. But what have you been up to? So I never knew about Unmasked.
Yeah. Well, like I said, that was my first book, but I didn't create the book. The authors
right.
did,
So what's it about? Unmasked Voices.
It's all survivors, a compilation of survivors that
These are real pictures of people.
Yes. Yeah, that's me right
Very
there.
Very nice.
You see me?
This is you, but this is you?
No. Oh, this one.
You look so different, though. I mean, you still look good, and you're still wearing scarves that are beautiful.
I love scarves.
She has a scarf on there. That's a good one you have on there.
You better believe it.
So, you know, how did this happen?
Well, I had a podcast for over 10 years.
Yeah,
and
so you did
I volunteered an hour a week to, and different topics we discussed. And I met these ladies through my podcast and from Facebook, and Lee and Donna. Right. And they asked me one time, would I like to tell my story, or, you know, my story, and put it in the book. And I thought, oh, I would love that, because that made me feel good. I accomplished it. And I was in a very insular religion at the time. And I was married, and I had my 3 little kids, and my ex-husband was very abusive. And the religion, when you go, they call it elders, and that's kind of like a priest in another organization, or a rabbi, and go to him and discuss it. And they would tell me, they re-victimize you. They would tell me that, oh, you're not praying enough, you're not this, you're not doing this right, you're not doing it. And I thought to myself, how do they know that I'm not praying enough? How would you know? You don't know.
Right. Well,
and so that meant that I had to stay in the relationship And so that's basically what it is. And
to stay with your husband.
Right, because I wasn't praying enough. I wasn't doing enough for the organization. And so they re-victimize you. And you feel isolated.
In this organization. And it was an organization for...
Yes, it's very... It's still around.
Okay.
And so I couldn't voice my opinion. And then if you did... they would put a guilt trip on you and tell you that you're talking about your spiritual brother. So you don't want to talk about your husband because he's your spiritual brother. So it's like you're in a cocoon and you have to be mute. And it was very difficult for me.
So that was not good for you.
No, well, I got out of that.
Yes. Well,
I don't think it's good for anybody.
No, but what I'm saying is we've seen these types of things in film. You know, where people join these other...
And a lot of them are
cults,
sexual predators, child predators, because it's a haven for predators.
So what does mean disfellowshipped? I see that.
Disfellowshipped is shunning it in some other organizations. But in this organization, they call it disfellowship. So what happens is you're cast out of the organization, and then you're looked upon as...
horrible or whatever.
In the old days of Harlequin, you know, you know, you're you feel isolated too. And if you were to attend the meetings, you would feel like everybody's looking at me because I was the one that was cast away, and no one will talk to you.
It's embarrassing. It sounds like the ones with the hats. What do they call those women?
Handmaid's Tale. It sounds like to me.
Well, anyway, so then you feel like you're the bad guy everywhere you go, and so I just backed out of that. I didn't want anything to do with it. I wouldn't go anymore. And then my husband at that time would tell the children, "Oh, your mother's a bad woman. They threw her out of the church." So, you know, and then he severed my relationship with my kids because I'm the bad person. And that made him look okay, even though he was the one that was abusing me. So it was perfect. It's perfect for males that are abusive or predators because it shuts the women off and it shuts the family off, and you're not allowed to talk about your family because then you're considered that's against the religion. You're talking about your spiritual brother because they say the Bible says that your spiritual brother is your brother, and you don't talk negative about the brothers. So even though he's your husband, he's still your spiritual brother.
So really, leaving them was the best thing for you. It says here, I'm back now and I want others to know you are not alone. You don't have to suffer in silence. I don't care now and I won't be what others want me to be because I am me. And that's great. I love life. As long as I am alive, I will speak out for others in distress. And I want to thank everyone that gave me that voice. This is really nice. It's a nicely written. Yeah. And if anyone wants to speak out, I will listen. And many women and men, because they say that there are women abusers that abuse men.
A whole presentation on men that were victims of even female abuse. And it's sad because a lot of men don't talk about that because it's embarrassing to them, to their manhood.
Right.
But it's really not. I mean, to them it is, but
well, they don't want to admit it. Yeah, I think men are harder to speak anyway. They don't like to speak.
Yeah, because that makes them feel like they're told, they were told when they're little, you're a boy, you're not supposed to cry, you're not supposed to do this, you're not supposed to do that.
Right.
Girls are okay to express themselves because they're girls, but I know someone personally that his wife was so abusive to him. So I did a presentation in a college on a PowerPoint on abuse of men for men and how they hide it and they don't talk about it, and some of them commit suicide, some of them there's a lot of like diamond things that go on that they can't talk about. So
well, now look at you now. So now you got through, you wrote your own book, which we discussed last time, but what was the name of that?
Voices Never Heard.
Right, Voices Never Heard. And you went through a lot there, but then at the end, I mean, everything changed.
Yeah.
But how long did you do the podcast?
For 10 years.
Okay, so you started a podcast
2009.
when it wasn't popular.
Thank you.
So I know how
And
that
now
feels.
everybody's a podcast.
Well,
even famous people are podcasts.
Well, even
now I can't find one that I want a platform.
But
because
even
everybody's
4.5 years ago when I started, everyone thought I was crazy. Like,
No,
what are you doing?
No, it's not crazy. It's a
But
great
it
thing.
isn't, because you'd be surprised how much you can get out there once you get those followers.
I've worked with well, at one time I co-hosted with a rabbi,
Right.
and then I worked with a lot of people that were in religious organizations.
Yes,
because
right.
there's a lot of things that go on behind the
Well,
scenes.
you were more in, like, you were a positive person, but you were with people that had negative problems, mostly,
Well,
right?
I look at
You were
it,
helping,
yeah,
yes,
yeah, but
no, you were
because
helping them.
the reason why I did that is because there was times when Mary herself never had the opportunity to talk to anyone, and she
That
was
was you.
afraid. Yeah,
Mm-hmm.
she was afraid, and we didn't have Google back then, so we could look up, oh, why am I feeling this way, or what's going on in my relationship. So, and then you didn't want to call an attorney because they charge you. Nowadays,
Every
they may
minute.
give you a consultation, a quick consultation. But there wasn't really a lot of stuff out there for
Right.
women. And in the 70s, when I was going through this, the early part of the 70s, the states didn't recognize
Well, it was
domestic
like that.
violence as it's just a family thing.
It was a lot different. Now it's so different.
Well, now, but back when I'm talking about the 70s, late 70s,
Right.
there was nothing out there for us. So.
Yes, same. Look, The Burning Bed was the biggest movie
Right.
going,
Right.
and she was quite a popular actress.
Yes, I loved her.
And she really made a big following
That's
after
right.
that.
And that's a true story, the burning
Yes,
bed.
I know. So then you decided it's time for me to go back to school.
Yeah.
She's really an unbelievable woman.
Oh, that's not. It's not. Well, my Voices Never Heard book goes into what had happened to me as a child, and I went to very bad schools in New York City, and I didn't get an education. I had only got a 4th grade education, and the violence was so rampant that
Where
you went to
where in New
school.
York?
Where did I live? Brooklyn and Queens.
Because I lived in Queens and I went to New York City schools, but I guess I was luckier than you.
Yeah, no. So you probably didn't go in Jamaica and Hollis, but anyways, getting back to my story, every day it was violence, scars on my face. I was beaten. So
Oh, you had a rough
classroom,
time.
yeah, the classroom consisted of jumping on desks, throwing things around. That's what we learned. And so as we moved to Nassau County, it was like paradise as opposed to where I lived. And I had an emptiness in me because I knew that I always thought I was a dummy, but it wasn't me. It was I.
Well,
left
you were
behind.
treated that way. So.
Well, yeah, but I didn't get the education, so
Right.
I felt as if I was a dummy. So probably many years I tried to get my GED. I couldn't get it because I never would pass, and I think you're nothing but a dummy. You can't even pass a GED.
Oh my goodness.
So when I was 52 years old, I gave it one more try, and I went to St. Catherine's here in Franklin Square, and I said, I'm going to try to get a diploma, okay? So she tested me. Now, I went to Catholic school from 1st to 4th grade, and from 4th grade on, I was in the New York City schools. So there went my education. So she tested me, and the next week I came back, and she's going to place me after being tested. And she says, I don't want to say anything. I don't want to hurt your feelings, honey. She goes, but you only have a 4th grade education. Well, the tears rolled down my eyes, but I was tears of joy too, because I knew it wasn't me. I was never taught. So I said, thank you. I said, and I told her, and she goes, oh, I'm so sorry. Long story short, I tell my son. My son was going to Nassau Community College at the time, and he overheard this program that they have. And for me, college seemed like something out of the, in space. I could never reach that because I couldn't. So there's a program in Nassau Community College. It's called the 24 credit program. And he called me up and he said, Ma, you got to come to the placement office. This is perfect for you. This is perfect for you. I can't believe it. No, come on. He says, no, if you take 24 college credits, you'll be able to get your associates and move on. I said, how is that possible? So the next day I went. to the placement office. I spoke to them. They said yes. And I went to college. But I was in there for forever because I had to do all these remedial classes. So anyways, needless to say, I did it. I got my bachelor's, then I got my master's.
Wow.
And now
Is this
I'm
unbelievable,
a social
woman?
worker.
That's wow.
That is
Beautiful.
Thank you.
great, really. And you're doing great.
Yeah.
So then you decided you got your resume going and started to look for work.
Mm-hmm.
So that's a tough thing at our age,
Right.
you know, all of us, because age is a problem when you want to get a good job today in corporate America.
Mm-hmm.
So now you did get one job, but it wasn't what you thought it was going to be, correct?
No, I didn't like.
So you had
some of the
enough
things in
brains
there. Yeah,
to
I
get
had
out.
to get out of that. Yeah.
Because sometimes just because you got one, you stick with it.
I'm depressed a little bit
Well,
because
that's
the
okay.
money was great,
Yes.
but I didn't
But-
like. I'm not.
Well, you
gonna
have
speak
your
about
own
it.
mind, and so you
Yeah,
know
I
what's
don't like
right
the little
and what's
other
wrong.
things.
But the problem today with the system out there is sometimes you have a management that doesn't. If you're too experienced, they don't really want to hear what you have to say, and they want it all on paper. One thing about that job I know is
It's
you
a
have
lot of
to
writing.
document
It's a
all
lot of writing,
day long.
Yeah, yeah.
I work
it's a
for
lot of
the
writing.
county,
Yeah, you
so
know what I mean.
I know what it is. And if you don't document the right words, they come back and they tell you
Oh
They
my
do.
God.
you can't use that word.
Yes.
So
Yeah,
you're trying
you
to be
have
honest.
watch. Yeah.
Yes. So now you're job hunting,
Yeah.
and you're
I am.
looking for what? What are you looking for? Maybe
I'm
somebody
still
will hear
doing.
about
I still
you.
want to do social work, but I also want to go back into having my own podcast again
Yes.
and help people with that. So I'm scouting for that, and
And
then,
you should think about consulting. You
Yeah.
could consult
Yeah.
with people that go through this.
Yeah.
Consulting, I believe, is just like a shrink. Only
it's true.
it's what you're well versed in,
Right.
and I do a lot of
coaching.
yes, that's what I
thought
do.
of that
I coach
too,
you.
for bullying. I thought
Right,
about
and that you
Mhm.
could do with the schools.
Yes.
You
Yes.
know, and I sometimes go into schools and teach about getting a job because today's kids, even college, high school seniors, they don't know how to network. They don't know how. They're book
They do
smart,
on the-
they're
on the
intelligent.
On the phone.
They don't know how to do anything if it's not on the screen.
Exactly. So that's something that you could do as a consultant.
Yeah, that's true.
And depending on the person that you're talking to and the mother or if it's a high school kid, you have more of a chance. Unless if it's a kid in college, then the mother doesn't have anything to do with it. Sometimes they do. But you have something to show them that you did, like a portfolio. That's what I do. I have a portfolio, you know. But again, did it happen overnight? No, it happened as
Yeah,
you learn
it
things.
grows, right?
Yeah. And so that's
But
something
things
that
are
you
better
could,
when they grow because they grow
Right.
properly, like like a child. They crawl.
it's
before
almost
they
like you have to be a
walk.
marketer for yourself.
Yes, of course. Yeah, you do.
And then you have to get on Facebook and market yourself. And it's time consuming,
Yeah.
but you can't hire a PR person.
no,
So, you know, it's too much money.
right. It's
so
true.
that's something that you could think about too,
Yeah,
you know.
that sounds.
And
good.
you could probably do very good talks for people from domestic violence.
yes,
Because you're a very good speaker, isn't she?
Yeah. Thank
And
you.
you talk the truth.
That's right.
The
The
truth-
truth is very important because
Yes.
there's not a lot of truth today.
The truth.
And I think
yes.
every time I meet someone, they'll say to me, and they'll ask my opinion. I'm going to ask you your opinion, and I'm saying, how come do they see something in me that I don't know?
You have that face of honesty.
Yes, I see that.
I say the truth sets you free.
Yes,
And you'll read that in my book when you read that. That's how I started to become more truthful.
That's right.
Because the first book I wrote was about me, my best friend, and a little girl
I read that.
who
I cried my eyes
almost
out on that.
drowned in a pool.
Terrible.
And what happened as a result was we got drawn into it. So she became part of our everyday lives. Her grandmother was a good friend of my best friend. And we started to help the family. And all it took was going in there and seeing this gorgeous little girl, you know. And to this day, she's in her 20s. She's still in the same shape, but she's still surviving. And that kind of coaching for her family is very important. And in the end, we had to back away because it was a little bit much. It's in the story. And we just get Christmas cards now from her. But there were times when you help someone, but then there were times when they're not learning. And everything you put in, well, somebody else should be picking up some of that slack now. And that's when you have best friends, me and my best friend. She said to me, Linda, you know, we got to stop. We got to back away. And we've been friends since communion. And who's lucky enough than me? I have a friend that we receive Holy Communion with, and we're still best friends.
That's nice.
And that is just something not everybody's lucky enough to have. Right. So you're going to be doing all kinds of things like this, I think, because I think you'll be great at it. And you could even do like some kind of a charity little event where you invite people from domestic violence to come for your talks and have little breakout rooms for you and maybe 3 other people and put together a little mini thing.
That sounds good. Yeah.
Yeah, I do a lot of that stuff, you know.
Oh, that sounds good.
Yeah. So who knows? Maybe one day we'll do an author event, the 3 of us.
Yeah, that sounds good.
I mean, you know, you just need the sponsors. That's all.
Yeah, that's
know?
the thing. Yeah.
Yeah, it's not easy. If you want to have something really sweet, you know.
Right.
But you could do it very inexpensively too.
Like libraries too, right?
Yeah, and even some corporate offices. I have 2 gentlemen that give us their space because they want people to come in and buy insurance. You know, so there's all ways of getting free space.
Your story is important, though.
Yes.
Other women need to know
Yeah.
your story.
Yes, your story is definitely.
Yeah.
So now, how many interviews have you been on in the last 3 months? I haven't seen you in
I know.
about
yeah.
6, 7 months.
Well, I was working full time at
I know
that
you
time,
were,
you know.
yeah.
But I want to quite a few. Like
About 10?
I would say so. Yeah.
Yeah.
The one I went recently, I thought was really.
They're funny. When you read my book, you're going to crack up. I know all about it.
I'm going to say not the name of the place, but it was a senior facility
Yeah,
for seniors.
I've been to those too.
Okay. So I responded because I did work with seniors. I helped them get on Medicaid, Medicare, and some of them had Parkinson's disease. So I'd fill out applications with them, help them, you know. So, so I applied for this position, and I was there a little early, like you're supposed to. It was 10:30 was the appointment. So I walked in there at 10:15. And I approached the girl at the front desk, and I told her my name, and I'm here for so-and-so, and she looked at me. All right, I'll go get her. I'll call her. And then I thought, oh, here we go.
You got to laugh, because if you don't, you cry.
I don't understand. So, okay, the woman comes out, and she goes, what's your name? And I told her my name. And she was like, she looked around, and I thought, I was a little off center on that because I didn't understand what was going on. But anyway, long story short, she brings me in the back. And of course, I had backup with me, my resumes.
Of course
and
you
my
did.
information. Okay. And then the recruiter had already sent me an email and application. So I printed that out as well, even though I sent it back to the recruiter, because sometimes you have to be ahead of the game 7 times more than what they are. So I sit down in the office, and she says, I'm sorry, she said, I didn't know I had an interview today. And I was like,
this is HR.
You're
people.
running.
Me up.
Well,
that's what you wanted to say, but you couldn't.
You're running this whole facility, and you don't even know?
Well, no, that she said it was the issue. She should have lied.
Yeah, she should have. Yeah, that was a good. That was. Yeah, that's true too. But anyways, so I said, oh, she goes, well, I'll interview you anyway. Do you have a copy of your resume? I said, yes, I do. So I gave her the copy of the resume. I gave her the copy of the application I filled out, and this, that, and the other. And it was all of like 3 seconds. She was all, well, I guess she was disheveled because she didn't expect me to be there. But then I thought, if you're running a facility like this and you're the director, what are these people?
Yeah, no shot.
Yeah.
Oh, well, needless to say, I never got a call back.
Yeah. Well, that's another thing with just in general.
But I wouldn't want to.
Yeah, no, of course not. No, well, I deal with this all the time because I coach people that are out of work too. And most of the time I tell them, get over it. You can't go back to what you used to do. Find something new. Because if you think you're going to make what you made, you're not. And be happy, you're not. Because everybody's much younger than you. There's a one in a lifetime where it works. But in my book, there's 70 women who did something different. So, that's life today.
But
Today,
the good
it's
thing
different.
in social work, there's not an age gap. There really isn't.
No, that's
because
true.
the older you are, they feel you're more seasoned.
Right.
They want that in social work. Yes, in a maybe a cosmetic world or
Right.
Other careers, yes, that could be a factor.
Well, now you
But
have your
in this,
degree. So now you
Yeah.
have your evidence
Right.
where you can
Yeah.
get that
Yeah.
social worker job.
Yeah.
And, let's face it, social work doesn't pay well.
Yes, it does.
It does?
Yeah, it does.
Okay, well, I didn't think it did.
A lot of people said that to me. It's a shame you went into a career that doesn't pay well. No, it pays very well.
Okay, well, that's good to know.
Yeah, it is good to
Yeah,
know.
well, when I
Yeah.
did it, it didn't pay well, but I didn't have
Yeah,
the
that's-
degree. So it's different. I was more
okay.
entry, you know what I'm saying? So,
Yeah. Some of them start with 70. I think
well,
that's a
70
decent,
is very good,
I
absolutely.
think that's decent.
Especially for
Nowadays,
nowadays,
someone retired, semi-retired.
nowadays, that's very good.
Yeah. So,
But the degree means a lot.
yeah, I guess. Yeah.
And
well, I guess I know. Yeah.
I'm the first to admit,
yeah.
I never had
hate
it.
Yeah.
I got my hands dirty, and that was my experience. But
So
I'm
you were a
happy with
social
it.
worker?
I'm not, but
No,
I
but you-
am. I talk to people all day
Oh,
long.
okay, I get it. No,
When I worked
get
in the
what you mean.
publishing company
Yes, I get
for
it.
the editor-in-chief, I was, the bodyguard.
Yeah.
So he didn't talk to anyone, I did.
Right.
So I learned all that. But
Right.
again, he was in charge, and so was I. I was lucky, but that's not means I could go and be a social worker somewhere else.
Right.
So now, after hearing her story, and yours is all like fiction, positive love, this is two separate things. Yours,
That's the beauty of books.
that's right. And, I don't even think you could ever consider writing about something like that,
I
right?
don't have that experience.
No, but I'm saying if you had to, you have the writing, you have the knowledge, you'd have to do a lot of research.
Right. I'm writing a book now about Stonehenge. I knew nothing about Stonehenge.
So
That's interesting,
Stonehenge,
though.
let's talk about that a little more.
Stonehenge. I'm writing about the women of Stonehenge.
Women of Stonehenge, and what is,
Have you been to Stonehenge?
no. Where is it?
It's in England.
England. How could I go to
Yeah,
England?
it's in.
I don't go anywhere.
It's a remarkable spiritual circle of stones that
Really?
were
I can imagine.
constructed there thousands of years ago. And there are a lot of stories about how those stones got there.
And is it about women that helped?
Well, that's the point. We don't know. So that gives me, fiction writer, right, license to make up a story
Oh, really?
using the facts of how Stonehenge came to be, and that families were tradesmen who were involved in the moving of those stones to that location. But it couldn't have been all men. Could it have been? Because they're not organized enough, if you ask me. I
Right.
think there were women behind that.
All women.
So
The grease behind the wheel.
that's what I'm going to construct a story about.
That's very
Very
interesting.
nice.
Now, did you go to England? I figured you did.
Well, my son got married outside of Paris.
Oh, how nice.
And then we went to England as part of that trip. And,
Very nice.
I got to go to Stonehenge. It was a definite bucket list item for me to see it myself.
Mm-hmm.
Because I don't know if you read Outlander or if you're familiar with the Outlander books, but
Yes.
the stones, and they go through them, and time, travel, and whatever.
That's very
You
interesting.
see those stones there.
They're amazing, aren't they?
It's amazing.
I mean,
So now-
I've never
yeah.
been there, but I love the way they look. I
Yeah.
love history anyway.
Yeah.
Yeah, you guys
Yeah.
are both into history a lot.
Yeah.
So now is it done yet? Oh no, you're
No,
still
I'm
working
doing-
on it.
I'm doing the research for that book.
Good.
It's going to take me a minute or two. That's a lot of history.
Yeah,
Yeah.
that is a lot
And
of
it's history I know nothing about.
Right.
You could
When
be
I-
a geography teacher.
I don't know. When I wrote The Wick and The Flame, I had a basic understanding of the history of the time. When I wrote The Woodcarver Secret, I definitely understood New York City at the turn of the century. I've always been fascinated with that time. And when I was a little girl, my mother read me the All of a Kind family books about the Lower East Side at the turn of the century. So it's been a long time love of
Nice.
mine. So it didn't have to go too far to find the rest of that story. But this is something I know nothing about. So it's a challenge.
So who's your inspiration? Like somebody that writes, or somebody on
I have so
that's
many-
popular? Or
No, I have
is
so
it
many
the
authors I love.
subject? I mean,
You know what? I admire women writers,
yeah.
without a doubt. And I read them, and that's who I emulate. So I'm trying my best to do my part, to tell my stories.
Yeah, that's great. What about writer's, block? Do you get it?
I've been very lucky, no.
Well, that's a gift.
But
That
I'm
is because
also,
I got blocked too.
I have my
It's because
method.
you love it so much.
I love it. Every day I write 4 pages. I never finish the thought. I come back to it the next day.
Now, because you have all this love stuff in your life with the books, do you ever think of writing a column and like a love column?
No. No, definitely not. I wouldn't give other people advice.
No, you don't want to give the advice.
It's fun to write the fantasy. I wouldn't tell them how to
What
live
to
their
do.
lives. No.
Right. Because I read some of the ones in Newsday. And let me tell you, that one woman, she tells it right where it's at. You're wrong, you're right. She gives it straight to the cut, you know?
Yeah, I think I've been married too long to the same person to possibly know what other people's situations are.
No, it's true. It's true. But I think as a woman in general, we get our, strength as we get older. We change. I know I changed a lot, right? After either tragedy or not even so much tragedy, getting hurt.
Life. Yes.
Yeah, and then as you see other women change around you and you hang with them, maybe you learn something new. And I call it the club. We always, when we first started 16 years ago, we had a sign, we don't allow bitches. Because they could bring you down.
Of course.
And we don't allow jealousy.
No.
And I think in all these 17 years, we might have had 1 or 2 people, and we said, there's the door. You want to stay? We're okay. And we didn't have jealousy because we would get an opening and we'd give it to everyone. And whoever got it, everyone would be happy.
Right.
But today, it's a little different, and you have to really know your friends.
Sure you do.
It's so different because there's so much competition out there. And in this business, there's a lot of competition too, But, once you find your niche, that's something that could happen, But on a positive note again, the opera is coming back November 10th. Beautiful concert in Northport at the St. Paul's Methodist Church. One of my clients I'm working with, and they are fabulous women and men. It's unbelievable what they do. They experienced a little problems with the pandemic as well. So they're coming back, and the clothes and the makeup, and it's just beautiful. And it's right in Northport, right near the restaurant row there. And anybody that wants to go, you can go on my Facebook. It'll be posted, and it's November 10th. And it's only $10 donation. So it's a cheap date. But you have to like opera. But again, if you never went in years, you're not looking at 20 people on singing. You're looking at one. And you're hearing the story of the opera, of that one love piece. So it's kind of nice.
Beautiful.
With what you write about, it's kind of nice, So that's coming up. We just finished the film festival, New York Long Island Film Festival. This is the brochure. We saw over 110 movies.
Wow.
And they're all, like films that don't get to the big time unless they're really good. They're either an hour and a half, 20 minutes, 7 minutes. And they're true stories of things that happen to people, like writing, but they make it into a film. It could be funny, horror, really nice. We saw a few great films. It was wonderful. We had a blast. And then, because of the volunteering, I'm now part of the Fontanas. And from that, I'm an actress now. And it happened because of volunteering. I helped them and they taught me how to be actress. And now there's a brand new series coming out called The Fontanas. And we just finished the last part of the 7 episodes.
That's exciting.
And I'm having a ball.
That's great.
It's fun.
And I'm playing actually somebody I am, an Italian mother. And I have 4 sons instead of a daughter. And it's quite nice. And I get some people into the film if they want to do something different. And that's another way you can, while you're out looking for work, making cash money, you can do that. You have fun, you meet people, you don't know what could happen. So those are my philosophies in life because of it happening to me, but doesn't always happen.
I had one person tell me, oh, you've done so many things, what? But they don't understand that one thing you do, you meet someone else.
Leads
and it
to
involves,
another.
But when you don't do anything, then you would look at that way.
Right.
But some people get
when you're
intimidated by that.
I think so, yeah. Because they would say to me, I don't know anybody person like you. You've been an actress, you were this, you're a social worker, you're this, you're this.
I had
you wrote
that
a book.
too. Well, I always
They're all good things, really.
Yeah,
so
but
what's the problem?
they get intimidated and they'll say you'll be bored. I interviewed at Northwell Hospital 9 times with big top people. We don't know where to put you. I'm like, are you kidding? But I didn't have the degree, which I think hurt me too. But again, it's all experience. And now I make a funny out of everything because it's funny. Because now I don't want to go back to there.
No.
Right.
Yeah.
You know, I want to go in as a
done with
consultant and just do whatever they need for that day.
it. Yeah.
And I think that happens to a lot of women. Do you?
I think so. I mean, women they juggle a lot of things. And to put them in one category to do one thing, waste of talent.
That's
And
right.
men, for some
100%.
reason, will just keep
Well, because they
at the
usually
same thing.
only do one thing well at one time.
Yeah, that's true. Men,
But you don't.
I love men. Don't
you
get me
feel-
wrong, but they
you
can't
feel
wear
like
10
there's always
hats.
more you can do. It's you're a certain type of woman, I think, that you feel like, well, I did this, but I still want to do something else. It's like we don't stop. This type of person, these
Right.
type of women don't stop.
Right.
We have that urge or that need or that compelling feeling
Right.
that we're not finished.
Right.
And people don't understand that.
Well, that's true. But
And we're often fixers. So if there's a problem, we're going to solve it.
Yeah.
that's very
That's
true.
right.
Yeah, very true. So we, I want to just say, Power Magazine, congratulations to Tonya DeCosimo. She has a magazine once a month about powerful women. But
Oh, that's
this
nice.
month, she put 2 men in it.
Oh, that's nice.
And she picked 2 men that help women.
Oh,
And I'm happy to say one of the men in here is my filmmaker and creator of The Fontanas.
oh, very nice.
So Jerry Ferretti, congratulations. He's got a 2-page spread.
Lovely.
And I was lucky enough to get a 2-page spread with him. And she was on my show 6 months
really?
ago.
Oh,
And that's how it happened.
see? There
So,
you go.
you know, things happen for a reason. And she's a lovely woman. If anyone's interested in being part of the Power Group, you do a lot of vacations, you do a lot of fun. They have lots of dinners and all that. For me, it's a bit much. I couldn't do all that because there's a cost and all. But she picked me even though I'm not in that category, which really made me feel great.
Sure.
I'll go to
That's
some of the stuff,
wonderful.
but I won't be able to do everything. And
That's
it's just like any other organization. Like, what nationality are you? Are you Irish? You look Irish.
No,
No?
nationality?
Yeah.
I'm American.
I know, but are you like German, Irish?
My dad was French.
French, okay.
My mother's family goes back in Brooklyn a very long time.
Okay. Well, I joined the Sons of Italy and the Daughters of Italy because I'm Italian.
Right.
And that's another group that is very good to join. And you go out all the time if you want.
Yes.
You know, again, you can only do certain things, but they have great programs if you have grandchildren for scholarships and things like that, which my granddaughter got to take advantage of. And you too, you could join an organization for social workers. Now
That's
that you
true,
have that
too,
degree.
yes.
And you'll be surprised who you meet at that luncheon or breakfast.
That's true.
Because if you go to a small group, you get to talk to everyone.
That's
If
true.
you go to a big group, guess what? It's a waste of money.
I wanted to touch on when you said the Sons of Italy. There is a wonderful museum. If anybody can go upstate on Albany, on Central Avenue, that Italian museum. If you can get one of them as your guest,
Yeah, I have a few of them that's come
will
on.
not. They've got everything in that museum. Not like in New York City. I was like shocked. They even had the wine presses in there from Italy. They had all kinds of things. They have one room that's dedicated to all the music the Italians brought to
Well, I'm
America.
sure October's Italian month, so it's a big time to
if
go.
I were you, I would.
Yeah, I will.
Yeah. You will
I get
be
the magazine every month, so.
from here, but
Well, it's a magazine about all over.
you have to go to that museum.
All right, I'll
You
try that.
will be amazed. I was like, my jaw dropped. They teach Italian lessons there. They have, they do, what is it when they do the genetics, the DNA? They
DNA,
do
yeah,
that.
everybody
They have
does
a
that,
lot
yeah.
of programs there. It was an old church that they renovated and made it a Italian museum.
I-
So
I've
it has
heard
like
of it.
4 levels.
Well, even with the DNA, do you know how many people do that now?
Right.
Yeah.
It's amazing. That was
Doesn't
nothing.
always end
Never
well.
No.
Never existed.
Doesn't always end well.
Yeah, it's unbelievable. Yeah. So you talked about your bucket list. I have one. Do you have one?
What?
A bucket list.
Not really, no. Not anymore.
Everybody
I did a few of them already, so I didn't come up with a new one. But
okay.
I went
How about
to Paris.
You? Do you have one?
I have a whole bunch of them, actually. But
what's your most important one?
I guess right now we're looking at waiting for our grandchildren to get a little older so we could do a big family trip somewhere.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah, we'd like to take them to Grand Canyon or
that's a nice
something
nice
like a national park.
I have a simple one. I got approved to do it this year, but I couldn't do it. I didn't have enough time. I want to march in the Italian parade on Columbus Day and watch my father up there in heaven say she finally did it, because he was very upset that we didn't speak Italian. He had 4 daughters, and he did, and my mother did, but we didn't.
They didn't speak it at home. You didn't learn it?
They did, but we didn't learn it. We know the bad words.
Take lessons.
I know I can. Yeah. But I'm so involved since he passed with the history of Italy, which I wasn't when he was alive. And so that's on my bucket list. Good. Is that silly?
No, it's a good goal.
It's a funny, my daughter laughs at me all the time. She was like, "Wow, what are you talking about?" That's what I want to do. But joining that club was very good for me, because I joined before my husband passed away, because my daughter said, "Do it now, because you know it's coming," and it was the best thing I ever did.
That's great.
Yeah. So, but bucket lists are important. Everybody should have one out there. And you could add to it every month. Add something else as you learn something else. Right. So, and you have any advice for anyone out there that basically has gone through something similar that you have gone through?
Yes. My advice is, no matter what you go through in your life, keep moving forward. The more forward that you move, the less you'll think about what your past, or because if you help people, that's very rewarding to you, and that brings you out of what your sadness or whatever's hurting for you, because you see that you shared with them. So I think that's very important to share with others.
Thank you. And what about my very, very experienced author with all these beautiful books?
I would say just be creative. Don't deny your creative side.
That's right.
It's there, and it's really great to explore it.
Okay. Yeah. Well, these are for you. It's a little gift for you. Did I give you the little book already? Yes.
Thank you.
This is I call it the big book, because I went from that little book to this big book.
That's great.
And each chapter is a different story.
Beautiful. Thank you.
So that's for you.
And these books were for you.
And here's a nice little bag. Thank you.
Thank you.
For you. And we are sponsored today by Tranquility Spa in Franklin Square and Levittown. Everybody has to
just told me about them today.
Oh, you got to go. I do their marketing.
I heard they're great.
They're great. There's one in Levittown, one in Franklin Square.
Yeah, that's funny.
And Angela's the owner, and she's wonderful. You tell her you saw it on the show. And Aura Puro Jewelers, if you need jewelry. Teddy and Christina in Franklin Square on Hempstead Turnpike. Beautiful jewelry. Everything I wear is from them. And they are great sponsors. They're always here for us when we need them. And then I'd like to thank Jenny and Susan for the beautiful decorations. It looks great. And of course, Justin, who just makes this show so easy. And I thought this was a great show today.
Yes, it was.
It really was. And on that note,
thank you.
It's a wrap.
Thank you.